man, is this a monster of a human being. We're talking 6'5", 267 pounds, 34 and an eighth inch arms, 4.59 40-yard dash at that size, 1.58 10-yard split, 40-inch vert. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And then we look at the production. 1.5 sacks in each of the past 3 seasons. What? Look, guys, I'll be honest. I didn't altogether 100% know if I was going to make this video because I got done watching him and I knew that my take was going to be about what everybody's take is. I don't think that you're ever going to watch him and think anything other than this is an all traits prospect that is a total gamble. Total gamble. And really the only part of it that I don't think I've heard other people talk about as we're kind of getting close to the draft, as guys like these are starting to be more well-known inside the NFL zeitgeist. Why the hell did this dude come out of school this year? He's a junior. He didn't have to. Dude could have taken his elite athleticism, elite explosiveness, incredible strength, cultivated some pass rush moves, did something other than just lean on tackles once the initial move didn't work, and turned himself into a 12 sack a year guy at college, and then turned that into a top 3 pick in the NFL. Like, that's what this dude should be. This dude should be a top 3 pick. And he comes out and he's just all traits. And now it's a crapshoot that you're going to end up in the right spot and you're going to end up doing the right things. And I hate talking like this. I hate it. We're going to get to the skill chart. I'll put it up on the screen for you guys right now because it's exactly what you expect it to be. Burst is elite. His flexibility and bend is really good. His athleticism at an 8.2 is one of the highest grades I've ever given a defensive end prospect. It's incredible. And you can see it on the most mundane plays. It is exactly what you expect from his size. It's awesome. It's insane. Play strength is great. But then you get into any skill set that requires any kind of training or practice or reps. And yeah, hand usage, not there. Leverage, really bad, weirdly. We're going to talk about that in a second. Technique, bad. Can't give him a good pass rushing grade because he doesn't really rush the passer that well. He just doesn't. So that's just a quick look at who he is. It's all traits. It's all physical ability. And there's a place for that in the NFL draft. There absolutely is. And a team is going to bet on the potential. We'll talk about at the end of the video where I think that is. But before we get to that, the one part of the conversation that I don't really love having, but it was like the one thing I just kept thinking. It was like, what was the value in coming out this year and basically spinning the roulette wheel on which team's going to take you and taking a shot of where you're going to end up? Who knows? What coaching staff are you going to end up being? Who knows? How much development are you really going to be able to get depending on where you go? Who knows? Now, when April's over and we know where he's at and we know what it's going to look like, what the plan is, it's going to sound good. But I'm sorry, like there's just 10 teams in the league. I could probably name 10 to 15 teams that if I see him on that roster, I'm like, okay, I hope they're there long enough to develop them. I hope this isn't a revolving door of coaches that he's going to get taught from. I hope there's guys in the roster that can take him under his wing. There's just going to be a ton of question marks about how he can develop in the NFL based on where he goes. And maybe he's the type of guy who it doesn't matter. None of that matters. He's going to take it upon himself, and he's going to take every opportunity he can as a newly minted millionaire in this world and invest in himself, reinvest in his body and his technique, and spend every waking moment trying to get better at a profession where he has the potential to be a 15 sack a year guy and be multi-$100 million contracts. Like, he has all of those potential, like that, all of that is real. That is a very, very real possibility in 5 years for Shemar Turner. Very few humans in the world can say, oh, I could sign a contract worth over $100 million, $150 million. What's the highest paid non-quarterback? $40 million a year? He could get that. He could. I'm not saying he will, but I'm saying that is within the range of possibilities for him. he could also flame out and just never develop as a pass rusher and just be a really incredible athlete that hangs onto a roster and maybe finds himself a role in a defense. And it could go anywhere in the middle. So that's why I almost hesitated to make this video, because it's so outside of the way I usually do these draft profiles, because I do try to look at the traits and try and give you a full picture of who this guy is and what he can be in the NFL. But for him, we'll pull up the skill chart now. What nuance do we really need to talk about? It's all traits. It's all what is he going to do with the traits that he has. We talk about him versus the run. Yeah, he's explosive. He's fast. He can tackle. Can that get better? His leverage at a 3.6. Maybe that's one of the things we got to talk about. Maybe that's the other element that I want to bring up. I really, really hate how whenever he gets in a bad position, he just loses. And he has a tendency to just lean on blockers and absorb the contact. And if it's in a pass rush set, he really just is dead right there, and he leans up and it's over. And if it's a run blocking set, he's not. I mean, he definitely can lose ground at times, and there's no reason he should. And it's all technique. It's all he contorts himself into a bad spot, and he loses positioning and loses literally leverage because he puts himself in a bad spot. All of that's teachable. All of that is like, he can grow in all of these ways. And he has the potential to be elite, like I said. But there's just these question marks are just so real, and they're so dependent both on where does he land? I can't know that yet. And what does he do for himself to grow as a player? Can't know that either. All right. Wish he wouldn't have come out. I wish he would have taken a year, grow as a player. If Texas A&M wasn't developing you, 1.5 sacks over the past 3 years tells me they could have done more. Probably there should have been something else going on. The technique is pretty pedestrian. What he was being asked to do wasn't outside of the norm of what you would ask a defensive end to do. So I don't really get why he wasn't more impactful. I don't understand it. I haven't been able to kind of make that make sense for me. But he could have transferred to literally any school in the country, would have taken him, and he would have been a starter. Any school in the country would have probably made him a starter. Maybe there's like 3 or 4 blue bloods that just had too many names that wouldn't be able to take him, but could have gone anywhere, could have done whatever he needed to do to grow as a player. It's just going to be interesting. It'd be interesting to see what the ultimate upside is. And again, I will give the caveat. I get that he's a young kid and he has a lot of room to grow, and he was probably looking at the paycheck of an NFL paycheck and said, yeah, I'm just going to go make that because I'm going to be a first-round pick. No way he falls out of the first round. There's no way. I mean, team's going to take a shot on him. You have to. How could you pass up on a guy who could end up being a sack leader in the NFL in a couple years? You shouldn't, but where does he end up going? Is he a top 15 guy? That's a gamble. That's a gamble. If you're the Cowboys at 13, 12, wherever they're drafting, are you going to take a shot on a guy who might be absolutely nothing? Maybe you take a shot on the upside. I could see it. I could absolutely see it. If it's not the Cowboys, you run into a handful of teams, Atlanta, Arizona, Bengals, all those teams could use this guy, are going to value this guy. One of those teams very well might draft this guy, but does he help you first year? Probably not. Not a whole lot. No, it's not a huge impact. Maybe he's able to have kind of the Chop Robinson season that the Dolphins had for Chop Robinson last year. Now, Chop was put in a spot where he just had to start because there were injuries in front of him, but he developed down the stretch and he got better. I could see that happening. He's got all the traits. He's got all the tools. I'm not disparaging the player by any means. I know it sounded somewhat negative. I'm just confused, I guess, more than anything. I'm confused. Why is this guy who has all these traits not showing up at all? Watched 3 games on this dude, and I never once was like, oh wow, there it is. Oh wow, there it is. The finish. The finish is what I mean. Obviously, you see the sparks. You see the moments of where, oh shit, that's different. Like you see that, that's fine, and it's really easy to see because he's playing next to other NFL draft prospects that are going to get drafted in the same range as him. So you can tell, you can diversify that very, very quickly and very, very easily. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to see the athleticism, to see the explosiveness. But all right, guys, that's all I have on Shemar Stewart. I hate that I don't want it to sound negative. I hate that maybe sounded a little bit more negative than I meant for it to. It was more so surprised that he came out, befuddlement of why I didn't see more production. Really, really confused by kind of the way he played the game at times. Even like it was just weird. It was just really, really weird. But overall, it still has all the potential in the world, has all the talent in the world, and I'm really excited to see where he lands and how he can develop in the NFL. It's going to be fun to watch. All right, guys, that's all I got. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.